Inspirational Creatives, episode 188. Welcome to Inspirational Creatives. I'm your host, Rob Lawrence. Join me every Friday as I chat with successful artists, producers, and creative entrepreneurs who share powerful stories and strategies. They can help you to create the life that you want. Listen each week as these inspirational creatives show you how to take your creativity to the next level. You'll learn how to create a sustainable business that inspires others and gives you the financial freedom and lifestyle that you want. Thanks for listening. Make sure you sign up at inspirationalcreatives.com to get free exclusive bonus material. And now, on with the show. Rob here and welcome to another short action episode of Inspirational Creatives. If you're new to Inspirational Creatives, these short action episodes, which appear every Wednesday, are designed to help you take some life-changing action towards living the life that you want. In the last episode, episode 187, I spoke with voice artist, coach and performer Ilyana Kadushin. Ilyana shared her story as an artist, as well as some of her approaches and strategies when it comes to living more creatively. So in this short action episode, I want to share with you how Ilyana overcomes a common challenge faced by many creative people like you and me. It's a challenge that you might recognise. Have you ever noticed how your mood towards a particular project or action changes over time? For example, there might be a piece of work that you know needs to get done, and whilst it's a project that you love, sometimes finding the motivation to do what's necessary to move it forward can be tough. I know this is true amongst many creative people. I've seen it time and time again, where, for example, someone is stuck with a chapter in their novel, or they just can't get the next episode of a podcast finished because they're not in the right mood. Well, if you've ever felt like this with any creative endeavour, you're not alone. I can't wait to share with you what Ilyana has to offer you today. So let's start here. In episode 187, I asked Ilyana if she's ever faced any resistance with her creative work. Here's what she had to say.
Probably the greatest resistance would have just been my own doubt and uncertainty in myself. I mean, that's always the strongest resistance that we have to fight against, because we may put a tremendous amount of power on the resistance we feel from other people or the negating or the criticism that we feel outside of ourselves. But the reality is that doesn't hold the biggest power. And of course, I'm saying this now after having some years and reflecting on it. But in reality, our greatest challenge is the resistance we have in ourselves, because that is the most sticky one. It's easy to go, okay, this person didn't like what I did or doesn't believe in what I do. Okay, it hurts and it stings for a moment, but the reality is you can still get out of bed and keep going. It's your own doubts and resistance to what you want to do that can linger the longest, because it's your brain and it's your mind doing that. And I imagine for many people, it takes some years to unravel that hold. And the sooner you can let go of that, you can get out of your own way and you can really do what you're meant to do. It's very strong. And, some people, I don't know, maybe, and again, this is coming from a psychology background. Maybe some people need to unravel that in therapy. Maybe some people need to unravel that by doing something really challenging in their life, like climbing Mount Everest. Or for me, I studied martial arts. I went and got my black belt in a Korean martial art called Hapkido. This was a big deal for me because I can be kind of a scaredy cat, cautious gal. Saying that I was going to do this was a big deal. And I think in a way, this was me just saying, you know what, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of doubting myself. I just need to do something that really throws me out of my comfort zone. And it did. It changed my mindset. It changed my ability to get out of the holds of the sort of self-bondage that we have and just say, let's get out there and be active and manifest things as opposed to sitting and stewing in that doubt. So that is it's a very powerful thing.
The power of our own internal resistance is not to be underestimated. Often the resistance creative people feel when they are stuck with their creative work is related to their own confidence and self-doubt. Ilyana suggests that rather than stewing in our own creative resistance, we can push ourselves to move forward and build our confidence by facing our fears and self-doubt head on. For Ilyana, she took up martial arts. And whilst I'm not suggesting you take up martial arts just to get your next page or song written, you might want to take a look at what activities in your life nurture and support your creative confidence and endeavours. Whilst you're doing that, In the longer term, you could also try beginning to develop ways of creating more presence and awareness in your life as a way to help you to find out what it is that's holding you stuck right now. It may also help you to choose what action to take next. In episode 187, Ilyana talked about the importance of discipline and living a creative life and how it can help us to keep focused and motivated and as a way of getting moving again when we get stuck. So in episode 187, I asked Ilyana this question. You mentioned discipline a moment ago, so let's talk a little bit about that and your own creative process. I'm very interested to learn more about that and how you get into the zone before your performances and also what you do to perhaps keep your creative talents and inspiration sharp.
So the creative process in the zone, I love that. I love that question. I mean, now on this side of my experience, I realize that what that really means is getting present, mindfulness, and present in a relaxed and ready way, not present in a, oh my God, what's going to happen, tense way, but present in a relaxed and ready way. And it's funny because the zone I always thought that I needed to be in the past was something that was not present. I always thought that I had to conjure something else to make myself get to what I needed to be. But the zone is really the here and the now. How can you bring you and all you possess with precision? You know, again, that sort of sense of control and precision, but also your own personal flair if you're not in the moment and present. And it's when I would zone out. So it's not zoning in, but zoning out, things would fall apart because I wasn't present. People think, oh, I need to get myself into the zone to create. And they are actually zoning out. So you need to zone in, get present. As far as feeding creative talents and keeping my inspiration sharp, I mean, my fun answer is the idea that you take in the world like it's all art. All life in front of you is like art. Somebody walking down the street, somebody you see at work, the buildings around you, the life you see, somebody walking a dog, it's all art. And you take it in like it's part of your creative process. And then you stop feeling so annoyed by life, let's say, or judgmental of life. You start to see yourself as it's all creative inspiration. My practical answer to this is that whatever your creative area is, practicing what you do, the act of it, that will close the distance between you and it, and it will strengthen the muscle of what you do, like a workout. So the more, whatever your talent is, the more you do your talent, it stays sharp and fresh. And the more sporadic and the less often you do it, the weaker it is. So that old adage of practicing your talent, and we all battle that because there's just some days you don't feel like doing it, you know, sharpening your skills. But maybe that idea of taking in the world as art will help feed your inspiration and motivation to keep doing. If you're a visual artist or, you're a speaker or you're a radio host, whatever it is, if you take in the world like it's art and inspiration, maybe it will keep you inspired to practice every day to keep things, sharp and fresh.
Is that a regular challenge for you? I recognize it's a regular challenge for a lot of artists and creative people I know, not being in the right mood to practice, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Is that a resistance that you often encounter? And if so, how do you overcome it?
Yeah, it's something that I've encountered in myself. Absolutely. And there's not a person that doesn't encounter this. And not even, you don't even have to be a creative artist. It could just be human who's in business or whatever. We all battle that feeling of, I only want to do this when I'm inspired to do it. And if I've listened to great interviews with people that I admire, that I consider mentors and teachers, and the reality is that they talk about that idea of like, you can't always do that. That sometimes we have to start and then the inspiration follows. That if we always wait for this motivated, inspirational feeling to go, okay, well, now I'm going to get back to writing my novel, or now I'm going to get back to creating the podcast I want to create or whatever, you're going to be waiting and waiting and waiting. So that idea of getting present, waking up, looking out at the world and taking in that inspiration, and then just really saying, I've got to, again, that's where the martial arts came in, that discipline, because we all need that discipline. It's very easy in this overwhelming world with a lot of things going on that are not great all the time. And we can want to shut down and be overwhelmed, and that can affect that whole process. And to a certain degree, we can't let it because it could always affect it.
Ilyana talks about the importance of zoning in rather than zoning out to being more effective creatively. I also love the idea that Ilyana uses the world and everyday life as her never-ending inspiration, using her worldly experience, regardless of what that experience is, as an opportunity to be inspired and therefore motivated. Ilyana also suggests simply practicing your talent, and if some days when you don't feel like practicing, going back to the world to inspire your practice. In Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, she talks about taking yourself on an artist's date, and I think these two concepts are related. Additionally, I have found that sometimes practicing for the sake of practicing or doing for the sake of doing can be an inspirational endeavour in itself. As Ilyana puts it, there's no point waiting to be inspired, as you might find that you're waiting forever. This is where discipline comes in, and it's a case of taking action. In episode 187, I asked Ilyana how she finds discipline and what rituals or approaches she uses to maintain her motivation, to keep her skills sharp. Here's what she had to say.
So zoning in, as I was talking about, or waking up, to me, that is very connected to the discipline. So I'll talk about them together. I mean, some sort of meditation process I find helpful. And it doesn't have to be sitting down with your eyes closed in a temple that's quiet either. There's a lot of active meditations. You can meditate while you're cooking. You can meditate while you walk down the street. What it is it's about turning down the noise outside and in your own head and being like, here I am. I'm here. I'm here. This is me. I'm here in the world. What do I feel? What do I want to do? Then you let that energy kind of churn and bubble up. And then the next piece is harnessing and controlling it. So discipline, I mean, the answer to how you find your discipline, again, is like I was saying a few minutes ago about how do people wrestle with their own self-doubt. For some, it's therapy. For some, it's a spiritual practice. For some, it's doing something really challenging, climbing a mountain, getting your black belt. For some, it's just flipping that switch inside and deciding I'm tired of not doing what I need to do. I'm going to get up today and I'm going to be more disciplined about things. Maybe you make a schedule. For me, I will say how you get up, and I've taken in, again, information from my own mentors and teachers, how you start the day. So if you can start the day with a little bit of a disciplined approach of maybe a small meditation, maybe, a bit of some exercise, writing down some thoughts, just sort of doing a mind purge to sort of empty out the mind, it sets you up for the rest of the day so that your work and anything that you want to do is not cluttered by the gunk, so to speak. So I would say, those things are connected and you've got to find your own methods. But I mean, those are some things you could try.
What I particularly love about that is two things. One, it's about how you start your day. But secondly, which is really inspirational to hear, is that it's almost like discipline is, there's no one size that fits all. It's all about finding your own way of finding your own discipline in that sense.
Yeah, and finding out what's in the way of it. So if you do have to go into therapy because there's maybe some emotional thing that's blocking you from having it, or maybe somebody needs to just have a physical experience like climbing a mountain because it's just their own courage that's getting, you have to, again, be an explorer and say, what's going to work for me to cultivate some more discipline?
Ilyana suggests that discipline is a lot to do with turning down the noise in the world and in our own minds. Finding that discipline is different for each of us, and you might find that eventually you get so tired of not taking action that you decide to take action, and this might begin with finding new ways of motivating yourself. One suggestion that Ilyana made that I thought was powerful is that the way you start your day could be the key to your creative success. The activities and rituals that you partake in at the beginning of your day may influence how your work and motivation unfolds for the rest of the day. Equally, finding out what's in the way of realising your dreams can be a powerful move too, and that might be something you choose to get help with. I like Ilyana's idea of being an explorer. Finding out what's going to work for you to cultivate more discipline in your creative life could be a fun and inspiring exercise in itself. This may be something you want to explore regularly too, finding new ways to motivate yourself for new seasons and for different creative projects. If you're still finding it hard to take action on a project that you care about, despite having tried all of these ideas and suggestions so far, I'd like to share with you this one final clip from my conversation with Ilyana last week.
Sometimes that signal of interest comes as envy, right? We look out in the world, we go, I want to do what that person is doing. Or you might start feeling bad about yourself, like, I want to do that. They get to do that. Actually, instead of feeling guilty about having that feeling, pay attention. Okay, well, what is it about? That person wrote a book and is touring with it, or this person, did this film about this. And so follow the thread of that interest. And that's a signal, and go, okay, I need to pay attention to this. I seem to have a strong connection to me to do that work.
To sum up this short action episode then, it's no good simply waiting for inspiration to strike. When we're stuck, action is necessary. When we're actively exploring new ways to motivate ourselves, we may find ourselves out of our comfort zones and experiencing some unpleasant feelings such as envy, self-doubt, or uncertainty. These feelings could be signals that we deeply care about this type of work, and it may lead us to new creative work that is important to us. On this journey, it might be helpful to ask, what's in the way of realising my own dreams? And what's stopping me right now? And also, what's going to help me cultivate more discipline in my life towards living more inspired and creatively? Finding ways to create presence and awareness in our lives to find these answers may require us to take on a new mindset. It may be helpful to think of all of this as creative exploration. Practice can be helpful, as is seeing the whole world as an opportunity for infinite creative inspiration. As Ilyana puts it, seeing the whole world as art. Good luck taking action today. To hear more of what Ilyana had to say, head on over to inspirationalcreatives.com and look for episode 187. I'd love to know how these ideas inspire you, so drop me a line at rob@inspirationalcreatives.com and I'll be in touch soon. Thanks for listening. Nothing beats the stories and advice of an expert to help you raise your creative game. I would love to know what you thought about today's episode, so don't forget to subscribe in iTunes, where you can rate and review the show. If you like this episode, I invite you to share it on Facebook or Twitter with the one person you know who will benefit from the wisdom shared here today. You can find the show notes on inspirationalcreatives.com/podcast. If you have a burning question or a great idea for a guest, head on over to inspirationalcreatives.com/contact, where you can connect with me there.